Welcome back to episode 30 of Team Building Tips with Dan Talbot. This will be our final team building tip episode. All the information that Dan has shared over the past 30 weeks is going to go into a book called Team Building Tips that'll be available in the coming months on Amazon. So let's go and hear from our podcast sponsors first, and then we'll be back for the final episode of Team Building Tips with Dan Talbot. We want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs for their support of Team Building Tips. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards for all your sports, along with your Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Their interactive touchscreen consoles and templates will help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. You can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com, or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. Their indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every single year and also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com to see exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. We've got a Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table in our gym, and it's just fantastic. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and check out their products. You won't be disappointed. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for their support. Athletic surveys from LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also allows you to connect with your parents and your student athletes and let them demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack at athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the pros at athleticsurveys.com and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank Final Forms, the industry leader in registration, but Final Forms is so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility, and they've got reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their athletes play better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the mobile apps, the smart cameras. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle has the tools to help every team and every athlete improve. And if you go to huddle.com, you can see how they can help your school by providing a professional grade solution to the challenges that you and your coaches face. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users at huddle.com and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class content for their school social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com, tell them you heard about it on the podcast, and use our code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Create custom branded content for your school's social media channel. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Go to OnSnap, that's onsnap.com, and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job at the very best level. Snap Raise is their fundraising platform. Our coaches use Snap Raise, and it was just fantastic. They also have an option where you can get your funding before you even start your fundraiser. Snap Spend is their secure money management platform. Snap Store allows you to order custom spirit wear and team wear. Snap Connect is their multilingual family engagement platform. And at Snap Manage, they'll help you design an entire website. You can find it all at onsnap.com. That's onsnap.com. And we want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Go to hometownticketing.com, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. At hometownticketing.com, they're going to show you how to set up and sell tickets for your games online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager to provide hands-on support. That's every step of the way. At hometownticketing.com, they can also help you set up and sell tickets for things like school dances, your school plays and concerts, even graduation. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. Welcome back, everyone, to a very special edition of Team Building Tips with Dan Talbot. For the past 30 weeks, we've had Dan Talbot, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Senior Athletic Director for Polk County Schools, share his wisdom and his perspective on a variety of athletic director-related topics. And today is our 30th, and I'm sad to say, final episode with Dan. So, Dan, it's been a great run. Always enjoy connecting with you. What do you have for our listeners on episode number 30, just before our NADC conference of Team Building Tips?
Well, this one's kind of a little bit different. It's kind of twofold part. Really, the difficult challenge of athletic directors have of balancing their work life, and their personal life, and then, maybe lead into some reasons, why, I became an athletic director, and I always love hearing other people's stories on why, they became an athletic director, how they got into the profession, what route did they take and things like that. But one of the difficult things we face as athletic directors is, it's a 24/7 job. I mean, we're literally on call, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, I'm at the luxury of my house right now, but unfortunately there's practices going on which could cause issues. We have our winter sports season kicking off with wrestling and boys basketball and girls basketball and soccer, boys and girls soccer and girls weightlifting. So we still have a ton of events going on this week with games and practices. So we're never really off duty, which can pose challenges in your work life and your professional, or I guess your professional life and your personal life. And how do you do that? There is no answer. I mean, if someone's got a better answer for me, I try to do some of the little things by, putting in my office calendar that I'm out, my automatic reply on my email that I'm out. So if I want to check my emails, I can. And if I don't, then I still have that built-in excuse why I'm not checking my emails, because I am off for that week. But it's a very difficult task because we get so consumed with work. I don't know if there's really a good answer. Some people have tried not taking, some things I do as well is is I turn off the email on my phone so I can't check it. Because if you think about it, if it's 8:30 at night, you get an email from a parent. Yes, you want to know about it, and yes, you're aware, but what actually can you do about it at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, besides one, worry about it, two, lose sleep over it? Because you can't do anything till first thing in the morning. Uh, and do you really want to, now that you know about it, call the coach at 9 o'clock at night? You kind of thought he would call you. So all these things are racing through your head, but you really can't do anything about it until the next morning. So all you did was ruin your personal time with your family, lose sleep over it, where you could have had a great night with your family, had a good night's sleep, and still had the same reaction first thing in the morning when you checked your email. So there's a lot of things you can do too. A lot of times, I'll turn this thing off, just to take a little break from it, just so no one can get a hold of me, because it's really not life or death. Really, some instances, unfortunately, are, and especially in today's society, the way things are going, what happened at the University of Virginia is just terrible, and all the things going on in our society. But at some point in time, as an athletic director, you got to be able to turn the off switch off and stay off, just for a little bit, just to kind of gather yourself. Because when you find out, when you do have some time off, like for me, when we went into COVID shutdown a few years ago, uh man, I was bored. Oh, and then I realized, why am I so bored? I have all this time off. I'm at home. There's a million things that need to get done around this house. And, sometimes we use work as an excuse not to do the things that we need to do around our house. And that's when I kind of realized that, when I'm home, it's time to be home. And when I'm at work, it's time to work. And even though it doesn't always work out, but you got to figure out what's best for you, whether it's turning off your cell phone, putting it away, not checking your emails on your phone, doing certain things. One thing, if I'm out to dinner with my wife and we go out to dinner, because my wife, believe me, she works just as hard as I do and just as long as I do, if not more hours. Um, Leave the phone in the car. I mean, how many times have you gone into restaurants and two people are sitting there having dinner and they're both sitting there on their phones? And so there's little things you can do, because it's always so funny. I always laugh when, I bring the phone in there with me. Then I get highly upset when I get texts, I get calls, and people are trying to get hold of me. Like, wherever I just would have left it in the car and I had a nice 2 hour break at dinner, or an hour and a half, however long that was. And sometimes an hour and a half break and decompress is really all you need. Because I always hear the questions from, the young kids, like, how do we even function with those things? And I'm like, it was great. People actually had to come over your house, or, you had caller ID and you had answering machines, and, a lot of things was done by hand, but um, things were less stressful back then than they are now, because that whole society instant gratification. But, athletic director turnover rate is really high. And I think because we get consumed with the job and we want to do a good job, which is good, it's great. But you do need to find a way to decompress and take that time off. Where I'll be arriving at the NADC conference shortly, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to go learn one thing. If I can bring one thing back to my district to make our district better, then the mission was accomplished. I love connecting with different people and hearing their story on why they become athletic directors. I think being an athletic director is truly the most rewarding profession. And I look at my journey from, being a coach and then transitioning into the role. My former principal told me that I always asked how was I doing as an athletic administrator, and I was told that I was okay, because I was still coaching at the time I was being an athletic director. And I was told if I would not coach and put all my effort into being an athletic director, I would be a good one. I don't know if I am or not. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being around kids, and if you enjoy being around kids and you're an athletic director, think of all the people you're helping, and the lives you're changing, and the lives that you could change. but you have to take care of your mental health first. Uh, Mental health is a very interesting topic. These days, it's very on the forefront. There's a lot of people in our profession, especially the older ones, that, mental health didn't exist. It was, get up and get going and, quit crying about it and keep moving forward. So, but I think family time's important. Time with your friends is important. Just for your sanity as an athletic director. However you do that, just balance the work and life, because obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you're those that want to get better, those that care about the profession, those that care about the professional standards of the profession, because we all know a lot of athletic directors and people that ruin our namesake of our profession for choices that they make and things that they do, which is fine. We can't control, only control what we can control. But, we need good athletic directors. We need good people out there that care about kids. Whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter. Kids have to be the most important thing in our lives and what we're striving to do and better our school and our communities. Because I think what we've all learned, especially our community, especially through the COVID times, is how important sports really were. And for being the only athletic director in the state of Florida to pause sports for 2 weeks over Christmas break, and you thought I'd stole everyone's Thanksgiving dinner, or stole everyone's Christmas presents from underneath their tree. Man, they wanted me, you know, to answer for those, which I did. I made a decision. The superintendent backed me, which was great. And did it pay off? I think it did, and I got lucky. But it's difficult too, especially if you're an athletic director in a small community. You get terrified just to go to the grocery store, because parents are going to see you and people are going to see you, and and yes, that's what we signed up for. But whether it's just turning off your phone when you're taking a nap in the afternoon on a Saturday afternoon, or leaving your phone behind on purpose, or not checking your email, or whatever it is, but find time for you, and whatever that is, and whatever your personal endeavors are, to make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, again, this is a topic that we've hit on a couple of different times, but it's so very important. And obviously, I'm a few years older than you. I'm retired now. Kids are growing, all that, but I think I did an okay job in that area, but not nearly as good as I should have or could have. Too many times, as you said, answering the phone at the dinner table, and the job was still going to be there. And those are moments that you just don't get back. Your previous episode about things that can't be undone. That time with your kids, that time with your significant other, you're not going to get those back. And yes, you have to do the job. You have to do a good job at your job.
Mhm.
But is that extra phone call, that extra email, or whatever it is, going to make that much difference?
Well, it's a simple task, as like, I have two dogs, I have two min pins, and the simple task of just leaving my phone in the house when I take my dogs on a walk, is a 15 to 20-minute decompression from work, where I don't have to worry about it. The phone's not going to ring. I don't have my phone. The biggest issue is we're addicted to our phones.
Mhm.
People we want that instant communication and gratification, and it's hard, especially when you're a young athletic director, because when a coach makes a mistake, you feel like you made the mistake, and you got to understand too, as a young athletic director, it's your job to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Things are going to go wrong. It's the world of athletics. Like, we just recently hosted state volleyball championships here in our county. And there were some great moments, and there were some times where we could have been better. And it's amazing how you see people and their reactions, especially in their different worlds, when people just, it seems like they're overreacting. But when you sit there and have a conversation with them, you realize that, they weren't brought up in the sports world. I mean, us as athletic, administrators know that, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And we look to solve problems instantly and find the answer to the problem now, worry about how the problem was created or this and that, and not worry about just fix the, the problem. And the best problems, to solve are the ones that the fans and most importantly, the student athletes and the coaches didn't know there was an issue, because there's a million things going on behind the scenes that happen, that no one really knows about. And that's just our job as athletic administrator, is to fix it. So I enjoy being an athletic administrator. I've coached for a long time. And I think the fact that if I can make a positive impact on one student athlete's life that I didn't know, that didn't directly coach, I still keep in contact with all my former players. They're grown now. I'm being aged out here, but they're inviting me to weddings and their kids being born, and to, coach, I bought my first house, can you come over? But make sure you take off your shoes when you enter my house. It's pretty interesting. Being an athletic director is very rewarding, but that balance between work life and professional life is real tricky. But like you said, Jack, I agree with you, pausing on that one phone call. But the idea is when that phone rings and you see who it is and you don't answer it, is your mind going to be taken away? So figure out little things throughout the day where you disconnect from work, whether it's for 15 minutes, whether it's for an hour, whether, here's a perfect example. When I made the decision during COVID to pause sports in our county over Christmas break, I left my phone in the office, did the deal, with all the, the superintendent's like, well, you announced it. So I figured this would be a couple news stations, but man, it was everybody on there. I never seen so many broadcast channels on the Zoom, basically, pausing sports. And as soon as I got done with the press conference, I turned my phone off and I went to lunch. I looked at my secretary and said, the phone's about to blow up like you wouldn't believe. I said, just tell everyone that he stepped out of the office. He'll be back and he will return your phone call. And I went and had a nice, peaceful lunch for about an hour and went back to the office. And I sat there, and everyone that took the time to call me, I made sure I called them back that evening. And, 90% of them were shocked that I even called them back. But that hour break that I just totally disconnected from, gave me the kind of the mindset to go back and deal with work. But it was just taking a few moments to, basically disconnect and doing what you enjoy.
Yeah, again, just another great example. And you mentioned this a couple of episodes ago about emails. You get that you're watching TV, and most of us have our phones hooked up to our emails, and you hear that ping, and you look down, you see it's an email, and it's sent by a parent at 10 o'clock at night. Your knee-jerk reaction as you read through the 17 paragraphs is to want to respond right away,
Yeah.
but as you shared a couple of weeks ago, don't even look at it, don't even open it up. It's still going to be there in the morning, and you're going to be in a much better frame of mind to respond professionally at that time
Yep.
than
Yeah.
you are at 10 o'clock at night.
It's like, can't I just watch Survivor and not be interrupted, or whatever your show is? And I don't, when I'm home, I try to watch as many shows as I can by myself, because I know when my wife comes home, she kind of takes over control. But like I said, whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's a lunch or a dinner or whatever it may be, you don't realize how those, just having a little bit of time to kind of decompress and not be there. And there's days where I turn off I had the day off and I was going to sleep in one morning. And so I turned my phone off at night, which I never do. And of course I turned it on in the morning, and it just, the texts were rolling in, the emails and and the voicemails and stuff like that, which, what, it was okay. I got a chance to sleep in and have some time for myself. And I was in a much better mindset to handle those situations that occur. And a lot of them are just, people don't know. They want, when you're an athletic director, people just want people to say, well, the AD said it was okay. And you got to understand that too. But, for the sake of our profession, and if you're out there and if you think of other ways, that you decompress and stuff like that, whether, Now, I'm not saying go take a 2-week vacation and leave your phone at home, because that could be disastrous for you. I mean, it's just, we're always on call, we're always doing the job, but, you know, 30 minutes here, an hour there, and start small like anything else. If you're so immersed in work, see if you can leave your phone at home for 15 minutes when you go to the grocery store or whatever it can be, or turn it off for 15 minutes, just to, have your mind relaxed. But the turnover rate's high in athletic administrator. It's just the same with officials. We're under an immense amount of stress. If you look back to, things that can't be undone, the pressure we have to, you know, make things right in our society right now is someone makes one mistake, there is no opportunity to grow. There is no opportunity to learn. It's cancel and fire and move on to the next one, which is always not, the case, because, we are human too. And it is okay to make mistakes. You got to learn from them, but find a way to decompress.
Yeah, great advice, and a great way, I think, to wrap up, our series.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, this is, our 30th episode. For those of you who don't know, Dan is a longtime AD here in Florida. We've known each other for a number of years. I actually had the privilege of reading and approving Dan's CMAA project, many years ago. But
It is
he's
true what when you're doing your CMA project, for those out there that haven't, you know, taken the time to get the project done, it's when they say you've already done it, I mean, you have. I mean, that NCAA thing, I'm very passionate about the NCAA, and I'm very passionate about helping student athletes get to that next level uh, in the academic world, to make sure they're on track, for that. But like I said, my project that Jake approved was something that I worked on. Now I had to tweak it and clean it up a little bit and do some things. But it was rewarding to get my CMA. It was, rewarding. I mean, just like with the LTI courses, I've taken every single class. So I thought there's there's actually three new ones at the conference this week. It's 910, and then there's the diversity one, which I think is 638, which I've taken that already, being a state coordinator, and then the 704. Well, of course, me procrastinating, I took forever to sign up for the conference, and 704 is closed. So I'm taking 910. 910 is the international athletic director one, and I tell you what, I take courses just to grow and be better, but some of the best courses that I have taken are those international 900 levels. My assistant Jason Montgomery is actually in Doha, Qatar, as an athletic administrator over there at a school. Do they help me in my personal day, as far as being an athletic administrator in the United States? A little bit, but I tell you where it does help me is I finally found another group of ADs that I don't envy, because those international athletic administrators, they have a difficult job, very difficult. And you could only imagine the stress level they go through. I sit in those 900 level courses because I can enjoy my job and feel good about what I'm doing, because I don't have many issues as they do. I mean, they're custom agents, they're housing agents. There's, all different kinds of rules that they have to understand. So, but I enjoy learning and I enjoy getting better. And I hope you spend some time at the National AD Conference if you can go, and if you can't go, get down there, or in Tennessee. The next, 2 out of 3 years are in Florida, which I'm not too excited about. I enjoy going to other places, just as a lot of people enjoy coming to Florida, especially if you're from like Wisconsin, or, if you're in Buffalo, New York right now, snow, digging yourself out of a 6-foot snowstorm. You'd probably love to spend the, 4 or 5 days in Orlando, which I mean, I wish I was in Buffalo right now shoveling snow, just, the heat. But it's been an honor and a pleasure to come on here every week with you, Jake, and get to meet people, and the friendships I've created, through this podcast. And, hopefully somebody has learned something or taken something, these last 30 weeks. If it was one thing, it's still worth it. And that's how I view every conference I go to. And I enjoy visiting with people and reaching out and hearing their stories. So it's always an exciting time around Christmas because you get to, you realize when you go to the AD conference, you get to see these people once a year. You communicate through text or this and that, and you get to see each other once a year. And that's always rewarding as well. Always love taking the classes and seeing the athletic directors in a class learning to get better. They got to step out and take a phone call. It's pretty hilarious, especially like on the Monday morning class. But it's been a pleasure. I appreciate all the things you're doing for athletic administrators in the nation, and never stop wanting to get better.
Oh gosh, you're too kind. And again, this has been great for me. Hopefully, it's great for our listeners as well. This is airing tomorrow, or it's airing today, but tomorrow is the first day of the NADC conference, December 9th. We'll
Yep.
definitely be there. And for our listeners, if you've enjoyed this series, we are going to take all of these episodes and they're going to be transcribed and they're going to be coming out later this spring in a book called Team Building Tips by Dan Talbot. It's going to be Dan's words. It's going to be the segments that we've had. All 30 episodes will become 30 chapters, and it's going to be available on Amazon. So again, we appreciate you listening. And when the book comes out, please get yourself a copy, give one to your favorite athletic director or your favorite coach. And as always, it wouldn't be Team Building Tips if we didn't do this, Dan. One of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit. How do they get in touch with you?
Best way to get a hold of me, and you'll need it if you're trying to get a hold of me tomorrow, because I'll be in Nashville. 863-661-0647. Again, 863-661-0647. Call me, shoot me a text. Be great to hear from you. Like I said, I love connecting with new athletic directors, especially from across the state. I know Florida is an enigma to a lot of you and how we do things down here. It's really not our fault. We're just, we enjoy the weather. So that's why we're here. So we're good people that just enjoy the weather, and we deal with the chaos of being in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved your point too. The two of the next three conferences are going to be in Florida, Orlando and Tampa. So that's going to be fun. But again, we don't get to travel that far. For our listeners, thank you for checking out our podcast. We appreciate your support. Remember, the Zoom recordings of every interview get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for listening these past 30 weeks. Come back just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast, and we'll see you in Nashville. One more time before we go, we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the global community of women in high school sports, and We Coach. And we want to thank our sponsors, Snap Mobile. Check out the entire Snap platform at onsnap.com. That's onsnap.com. We want to thank Final Forms. Go to finalforms.com/Jake to get started using Final Forms. We want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Use our podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off when you sign up for Gipper. We want to thank Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a huddle school. Help your athletes and coaches. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. If you're looking for a great way to display your school record boards or your Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. I want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. They sponsor the AD Toolbox segment of our regular podcast episodes. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to find out how to start using surveys for your parents and your student athletes. And we want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. Thanks for listening to Team Building Tips with Dan Talbot. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.